afternoon, guys. My name is Dratnos, and here with the Titanforge podcast, we have a special guest, Andybrew. Hello, Andy. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing well, thanks. Good to be here.
And above me, I guess, is also Dratnos. Dratnos, how are you doing today?
Good, thank you.
Nice water bottle and clean bed.
Good, thank you. I hope I'm doing well.
And to my other direction, we have Trell.
My name is Dratnos as well. Today? I'm well. How are you?
Hello, Dratnos.
We're live this week. Yeah, episode 18. Hope everybody's had a nice week off. This week we're going to talk about the Rise of Brewmaster. That's our main topic. We're going to mostly focus on Mythic Plus because Brewmaster has been the best in Raid for a long time, but only recently has it started being the best in Mythic Plus as well. And to help us talk about that is our special guest this week, Andybrew. So Andybrew, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Andybrew. You can find me on twitch.tv/Andybrew3. I've been playing the game since, I think, halfway through Warlords of Draenor is when I made my monk. And didn't really play too seriously in Legion. But then when BFA started, I thought that I'd play like quite a lot more seriously. I've only recently come back to the game. I quit like halfway through season 1 or towards the end of season 1. And I came back, I think, 4 weeks before the Azara patch. Yeah, I don't know. I'm 20 years old and I don't know what else to tell you.
Oh, hell yeah.
All right, Tettles has another question for you, I think, here.
Oh, yeah. So how does Andy heal so much?
Should we really go into the really basic answer?
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Just the meme FAQ question.
I press buttons. That's the.
What's your zodiac sign?
I don't know. I think it's what is it? Capricorn.
Okay, fair enough.
Cool.
I don't even know my zodiac sign.
All right.
That's a hard question.
Trell, for you, I have a different question. Do you think this week is a good push week here? We have Enchanted, or Tyrannical, and then it's Bursting and Skittish. Do you think that makes it a good push week, or do you think that the Tyrannical is too much of a problem?
I think it's, for the most part, a pretty good week. You can't really do too many 24s, but for Tyrannical, it's probably the best Tyrannical week, and it happens to be Enchanted, which is the best rotation for emissaries. So I think all four of us are doing quite a few keys this week, and I don't know. What do you think about it, Andy?
Yeah, I think it's a good push week this week. I mean, there's a few keys that I would say are easier than even on the fortified week, in my opinion. One of those being, I think Motherload is actually better on Tyrannical than it was on fortified. But yeah, like, I mean, other 24 keys are still a lot harder than they are on like the mega push. That was the fortified bursting volcanic. But I think overall it's like still kind of a big, like, it's a good week. But I think it kind of like shows how Tyrannical is sort of maybe a bit too unfair in comparison to like fortified, and how the scaling should probably be changed in like a few areas. And
it's a bit ridiculous because like in season 1, Tyrannical felt pretty good to play on, but just as the expansion has gone on, Tyrannical just feels like just more and more ridiculous with like these like 5.5 minute boss fights. You have like Vic Goth taking like 6.5 minutes, like stuff like that.
No,
you have Dratnos on a 21, barely timing Siege of Paralysis.
Yeah, we beat a timer yesterday by 0.001 seconds. It was wow. It was nice. I missed the last cannon shot, or the second to last cannon shot as well. They were just like 3 seconds on the clock. I just miss a cannon shot, and then we still beat the timer.
I think 2 people died right then too at the end of your run.
Yeah, but you don't lose time on the clock if people die in the last 10 seconds.
Last 10 seconds, yeah. I think that was a rule implemented in this expansion, or was it in the Legion?
I don't know when it was implemented, but it saved us on this key. Yeah.
I don't know, it was funny to watch.
That was a little stressful. It was a little stressful. If we hadn't actually timed that key, I don't know. I probably would have been kicked from that group. So it was nice. It was nice that it was on the right side of that 36-minute line. But yeah, I would say this week is definitely the best Tyrannical week, and it's probably the best week for, like, I don't know. I mean, it's so sick that Enchanted is so much better than the other two patterns as well, because you really only have the 4 Enchanted weeks, I'd say, to push on Horde side. You can maybe add some of the other weeks if you're Alliance, and you can meld Emissary or meld Voids, but that basically leaves this week and the Fortified week as the only push weeks on the calendar, really.
I feel like every week is kind of a push week, though. I feel like every week is at least playable by and large. There's some weeks that are exceptions. Like some of the bad Void weeks are just like really fucking unplayable. But
I think it just depends on your definition of push. Like for Andy, I think only 2 weeks are really push weeks for him, doing 24 at the highest level. But every other week you can probably do 22s or 23s if you're still going for those. You know, if you're in a slightly lower skilled group.
I mean, I think it wasn't last week, but it was the week before that. I mean, it depends because like a lot of times, I kind of want to play like every week, but most people kind of like they say, "Oh, I CBA," like because it's kind of difficult and they can't do the same kind of key levels. I quite like how like even 23s on some weeks are like way harder than 24s, like say this week or on the mega pushing week.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I'm exactly like that too, where I'd rather just play than not play. Like, I'd actually just do keys and just like sit around and just be like, oh man, it's not the best week, it's not the most optimal fixes, I'm not gonna play.
But I mean, we do some fun stuff as well. So like 2 weeks ago, we did 2 21 keys with no healer. We had Boomkin, and we had no rogue as well. We had a Fury
Hell yeah.
And we just, I don't know, we managed to time both of them. It was insane. So, but yeah, like, I don't know, that sort of stuff is actually really fun actually to do, because it's really hard.
It's just something different and change up the pace, right? I think that'd be really fun too. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of hard like every week you can do hard keys. The thing is just there's only like 2 weeks where you can do hard keys that are also really high numbers on the
exactly. No, that's.
And then there are people who don't like. There are people who are less interested in playing on the harder weeks, right? And then if you know you want to play with the same 5 people all the time, so if you can't get all of them interested in just pushing 22s when you could normally push 24s or 23s when you could normally push 24s, gets a little harder to get the group together, right?
Yeah, I think that's where like kind of RaiderIO Score comes kind of a bit toxic in a way, because I feel like it should maybe have a system where it's more kind of like reactive. So like certain key, maybe you get more score if it's like a really hard week or something for doing, say, a 23 key. It might not be a 24, but you did it on a like super giga hard. They might have like, you know, where they just add a bit more score or whatever to that key. I think they should implement something like that, because a lot of times, a lot of people just seem to hunt for score or whatever instead of just kind of enjoying like Mythic Plus pushing, I guess, on anything.
Yeah,
we've been talking about that a lot lately. Where it'd be cool if there was like an aggregate score system of your top 3 weeks for each dungeon, like how high you could push in 3 total weeks in each dungeon. Have that be a.
I think it's also Blizzard, like Blizzard, who should create a system like that, or something that like rewards you for having the best run of each dungeon on your server each week. Because if that was around, then people would like be much more interested in going. The thing is, there's only the RaiderIO Score. There's not any like in-game rewards for pushing.
Yeah, I think so. I think Blizzard should actually take ownership of it as well, because if they do that, not only do you have kind of a more, well, I think you could have like a better leaderboard system, but you could also have, as we said before with Teddles, we were talking about Mythic Plus, like season rewards as well, with like mounts, titles, transmogs, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
I think it'd be a much kind of better system.
I think that would be awesome. Yeah, I think those sorts of like mounts and titles and transmog is a perfect place for them to go each season. Like they already do that for PvP, right? It's the same sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to our main topic. But first, want to shout out our social media platforms and stuff. We are on Twitter at TitanforgeWow. And then Andy, you are on Twitch at twitch.tv/AndyBrew3. Not the first or the second Andybrew. Those ones are
those are reserved.
Yeah, we don't go those channels.
I don't know why.
But Andybrew3, that's the number you want to go to. So everybody, now's a good time to go throw him a follow, and he'll probably be streaming many hours over the next until reset. We also have a Discord, the Titanforge podcast Discord, which one of my co-hosts can link in chat also, and it'll be in the description if you're listening to this or watching it later.
I'll link it.
And we also have a Patreon at patreon.com/Titanforge, where you can help support the show every week. And among our most powerful patrons are Paul, Gyu, Never Nude, and Ahar of US Proudmore. Thanks for your support. Okay, so into our main topic, the Rise of Brewmaster. Let me start by just showing you some pictures, some graphs from RaiderIO to compare Season 2 to Season 3, because I think that this is something that people don't really appreciate, is just how much better Brewmaster is now than it was last season, and actually that it is performing better than Brewmaster at the top levels. So here's Season 2. This was the top runs during Season 2. You can see all the tanks are warriors here. And if you actually look at the top rated tanks, it's warriors all the way down to number 14.
Click through the pages, because
Okay.
for top runs, you'll have it all the way until like 50, where you have a pally that did a 25 total.
Yeah, the top 49 runs of Season 2 were Prot Warrior runs. Now, Season 3, there's a lot more diversity up here, right? In the first 4 runs, actually in the first 6 runs, we have 4 different tank specs. Although that's just because there's one insane Blood Death Knight key here. That is
yes, Toll to Gore from Blood Death Knight.
unsurprisingly being Toll to Gore,
That's
right?
pretty sweet.
But still, like this one Blood Death Knight is actually performing pretty well in terms of overall numbers.
Yeah, he's really.
But yeah, if you look, there's just a bunch of different colors here on this first page. Mostly Monk, but still a lot of the other specs. And that kind of continues as you go down the ranks. There's a lot of different stuff here. And if you look at all tanks, there's multiple different specs at the top, but it's mostly Monk. Monk is 4 of the top 5. So that's our kind of data backdrop to why we're saying that Brewmaster is now, if not the best, it's definitely in conversation for being the best. And we're going to make the argument today that it is the best. Or at least I'm going to make that argument. I don't know if anybody's going to try and disagree with me. Although I don't expect it, because most of the people in this group are Brewmaster mains.
I know Fem would hard disagree. I was talking to him a little bit about it last night. He said that he believes that the reason that no Prot Warrior is like doing like there's not more Prot Warrior representations, because there's just like fewer Prot Warriors playing, like himself and Nerf and all of them and now we're all doing MDI, right? So
yeah, that's true. Actually, if you look at this list of top tanks from Season 2, this person is now kind of rerolled Monk, the number 1 RaiderIO Score person. But outside of that, like the next 6 warriors have not really been pushing this season. So yeah, that may be an effect. Certainly there are some high level warriors that aren't pushing this season, and that may be making the warriors look underrepresented here. But I know like a couple of these monks were pushing last season and couldn't get as high up as they were this season. Not Andy, of course. Andy just returning to the scene and crushing it.
Bring back Trollskior.
Bring back Trollskior.
No. None of that.
I don't get it, man. Trell just fought him rerolling back and forth. He's just like, he rerolls to warrior, rerolls to Prot Warrior. It's disgraceful, actually. Okay, so to put it into perspective, I think it would be good if we made a quick little tier list of how good we think the different specs are in M+. I think the Brewmaster and Prot Warrior are pretty clearly in the top tier. You could make an argument that the Brewmaster is like S tier and Warrior's just A tier. Or you can make an argument that they're both in just that A tier. Then I think Prot Pally and Vengeance are the B tier options. Those are actually doing some pretty high runs as well. There are a couple of them succeeding. Vengeance, it's tanky, but there aren't that many people actually doing very high keys on it. I think part of the problem is that they add pretty low amounts of damage over the course of the dungeon. So you don't really see, like, the highest ranked Vengeance is only 2,900. And then Guardian Druid and Blood Death Knight, I would say, are near the bottom. And I think Blood Death Knight quite a bit lower than Guardian. Although, again, the highest ranked Blood Death Knight is actually pretty high. Yeah.
Yeah, Rhea is actually kind of owning, but
I think that might just be a case of an insane gamer gaming in an insane fashion, though.
I think that you might be onto something there. Plus, they're also Alliance too, so you also have to factor that in a little bit as well. But he is definitely making Blood Death Knight look significantly better than I think it is.
Yeah, I think the main point is that, like, I think tanks are actually fairly close. Like, most of them are this patch. But I think Brewmaster and Prot Warrior are, like, clearly a big cut above the rest. And that's why you see mostly them in these top pages. But we wanted to answer the question with our podcast today. Why is that true? Like, what has changed for Brewmaster, and what is making them now good when they weren't good before? And Andy, I know you're just coming back to the game, but Trell, you've been playing, like you tried to play Brewmaster in Season 2, right? And you ended up re-rolling to Trellskior. So what is it about the current state of the game that makes Brewmaster, better than before? What's new?
I mean, the only like real new thing is Hot Trub was introduced. That's been a big part of. Andy can tell you he does the most with it. His damage. I think you do 17% of your damage is Hot Trub and free.
In Freehold, yeah, probably. Maybe a bit more.
Something really high. But so it's basically almost 20% more damage than it was before. In some cases like that are extreme. There's other things that the 2 new raid trinkets that we'll talk about added quite a bit of healing to Brewmaster. They scale a little better for Brew than other tanks.
Yeah.
Brewmaster has tools to deal with every single emissary in the game pretty well. All 3 of the emissaries are affected or controlled by Brewmaster pretty easily. And I don't want to cover everything because we got a lot to talk about, but a lot has changed in Season 2. A lot of the downsides of Brewmaster in Season 2 were reaping on top of pulling with another pack was really dangerous for Brew because you could essentially get globaled by the dot from reaping and the physical damage from the pack. Whereas Warrior would take literally no damage from the pack and just get dispelled from the reaping and stay alive, as well as leeching through the pack with their insane damage. So that was a pretty big loss. And
because Brewmaster kind of has a hard time with small mobs and big mobs attacking it at the same time, right? That's an awkward spot because you kind of rely on only fighting big mobs and dodging a lot of their attacks with elusive brawler stacks. And if those are getting consumed by small autos, that's a problem, and that's gone now. Now the reaping's gone. I think another effect also is just that single target has become a more important tanking thing this season than it was last season. Last season, it was kind of all about just big AOE, and the individual boss fights were not as tough for tanks. But this season, the way it's been scaling, boss fights are a pretty serious challenge, and Brewmasters, I think, are the tankiest single target tanks, and they're a lot better against the magic damage bosses than Prot Warrior is, because there are a lot of those bosses
notably
now.
Notably the bosses that attack that you can dodge, but they also deal magic damage, like Rixa Flex Flame, or from a raid standpoint, Jaina Proudmoore, were the same kind of auto attacks where you could literally just dodge their magic attack melee, and that's the same as Emissary of Tides too. Taking that into account is pretty big.
Dude, Rixa is so bullshit. If you, I don't think you understand. If you don't if you play with the Brewmaster Monk, you wouldn't understand why Rixa is bullshit. Every other fucking tank is Iron Bark me on pull because they get shot twice, at the very beginning, right, with her melees. Every other tank has to get a fucking external on the pull, and then Brewmaster just kind of rolls in, you're good to go. And what the hell?
Yeah, it's actually so unfair. I think Charlie, you're onto something here as well, though. The Emissary of the Tides. So, what is it with the Emissary of the Tides? Why is that so good for Brewmaster compared to the other tanks?
Andy can definitely weigh on this as well, but for me, just the fact that you can dodge their magic melee attack is huge. They deal a ton of damage with their melees. And on top of that, you can sweep them for 5 seconds. They have PvP duration on all stuns and DRs on them, or stuns and caps on. You can sweep them, you can ring them away and let the pack hit you without the tides. You can ring them out of a pack, even you can just decide not to do them with the pack. There's just all kinds of ways to deal with it as a brew. But Warrior, you'd have to face tank and just eat the magic damage over and over for the most part.
Yeah,
I think it's unfair that you can't block the auto attacks. I think that's kind of a bit strange, to be honest with you. So
I agree.
It's so weird because everything in this expansion is blockable, right? But for some reason, those magic melees really aren't. But I don't know why.
Well, because they were designing it when Prot Warrior was overpowered, right? So that you make it so that Prot Warrior doesn't block them.
I guess.
I feel like it's pretty unintentional. I just don't know why they made it magic damage in the first place. They could have made it just a heavy physical damage hit, and that would have been more balanced for every tank, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that magic damage is a really tough thing to balance in this expansion. Damage that hits tanks that's magic is just 3 times more effective than physical. So when they design these bosses like Rixa that are all magic damage, it's tough for it to be balanced when you want the numbers to be about the same as the physical damage bosses, but your tanks just can't mitigate any of it. Yeah. All right, let's move on to talking a little bit about kind of the Brewmaster specific strengths. One thing the Brewmaster has, but is not new, is stagger. Stagger basically means that when you take damage, you delay it and turn it into a dot. Brewmaster can do this for almost all the physical damage they take, and for a small amount of the magic damage they take. Not actually all that much of the magic damage, but compared to other tanks, right? Other tanks don't have access to this ability. I don't know if you guys think that this is something that's overpowered in keys or not. My perspective on stagger is that stagger is the kind of iconic monk ability, and if I were to balance monk, I would go after the other parts of the spec and leave stagger the way it is. I don't think it's fundamentally broken in Mythic Plus. Maybe it is in Raid, but we'll talk more about Raid later. Tettles, you seem like you've maybe got something to weigh in on that one.
I don't know about that. I think I have a differing opinion, but just because of how it is in like in Mythic Plus, it's like fine, but then you get to Raid, like you said, it's just like a huge.
Okay.
It almost needs a rework for just the fact that it's always so strong in Raid, but I think it's fine in Mythic Plus for sure. It would just you have to convince Blizzard to somehow split the spec into a Raid spec and a Mythic Plus spec, but I don't know how they could do that off the top.
There's a really easy way to do that, which is just to have a system where you have Mythic Plus talents, and
like PvP talents.
Yeah, kind of like the way PvP talents work. Like I don't know if you know Vibes, but him and I were like talking about this like a while ago, and he sort of suggested that there should be like some form of Mythic Plus talents, and how a lot of like ranged kind of suffer from the fact they don't have like melee kicks. So for example, say if you're like a mage or a warlock or something, you could like spec into like a better kick for Mythic Plus, and I think they could somehow balance a few classes as well for Mythic Plus and raiding, like with Mythic Plus talents. And obviously kind of Brewmaster and raiding is sort of just a meme right now, where I mean it has been since season 1, since older. It was kind of like a meme back then. Like I remember there was that whole fiasco on what was the boss, the 3-headed fetid, I think.
Yeah.
There was that whole log on what was it, Peak of Serenity?
Peak of Serenity with the Iron Skin versus Purifying. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. And how the difference between not having your mitigation up tool and having Iron Skin brew up 100% of the time was extremely like minimal. And they sort of fixed that in a way to an extent by nerfing your baseline stagger and putting it more into Iron Skin brew, but I don't think it's like accentuated enough. I do believe that you don't get punished enough for certain things, like as raiding in as a Brewmaster, and you would get punished for those things back in Legion, especially like I'm gonna say like Nighthold around that point. You definitely would. So yeah, I think they do need to like do something, but then at the same time, like I would hate to be it where it's something like what they did to Blood DK, and it just becomes a meme.
Yeah, they just take the nuclear missile and aim it at the spec.
Yeah, like I think it's the same in other games as well. Say for example, something like League of Legends, where lots of game companies find it easier to nerf one thing than buff, or then like truly find out what is kind of like wrong with it and how to kind of tweak it. Or in a lot of cases, they should honestly just buff other tanks. Like back in season 1, they should have definitely done that. Like the other tanks should have just been brought up rather than nerfing Blood DK the way they did and nerfing Brewmaster by, I don't know, they did some really tiny nerf that was just laughable.
Oh, I forgot about that. It was so small.
Yeah.
I remember that one, yeah.
So, yeah, I think, obviously it's harder to do that where you have to balancing a game.
I think in general right now, just tanks also feel kind of underpowered. So I think that nerfing the best spec, like I think it's just better if they bring the power level up on tanks, because back in Legion you felt tanky, and now you really you feel like you're at the mercy of the game unless you're playing Brewmaster.
Do you actually feel like that right now? I mean, I feel like with Essences, it seems like all of the tanks are in an okay spot in terms of like survivability relative to the damage intake that they're getting. Plus healing seems like it's significantly increased this season just by Essences alone.
I don't know. On my paladin, I felt like I just would fall over all the time. And even if I tried to not fall over and I pressed some buttons and some cooldowns, it wouldn't really help. But now on monk, I feel like it's the only tank spec where your health just isn't just going wildly on your health bar, and you're just like fearing for your life. I don't know. What do you think, Andy?
Depends on the key level.
True.
I don't know. I've
sure.
run into plenty of things like that. I don't know. But I do think they need to. I don't really know how to fix it. Like with what you said earlier, where you said prop paladin was B tier. I kind of like disagree with you in a way, because I think the problem with prop paladin is it's a really good fortified tank. Like it's an insanely good fortified tank, but then it's just so bad for tyrannical because they can have downtime in their mitigation, and in that downtime they just get deleted, especially on most tyrannical bosses.
Yeah, when the boss starts getting longer than like 2.5 minutes and you just don't have anything rolling.
That's the kind of Monka W timing where you're just like, I'm not sure what to do here. But
I'm kind of the boss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do
But
what you gotta
I think
do.
for fortified, they're really good. So I mean, it's hard to tackle kind of like problem where you want to buff something like prop paladin, but then at the same time, it's really hard to buff them without making them too strong, say for fortified dungeons or whatever. So I think it's kind of like a struggle. And also I don't think Blood Decay is really like too bad. I think it's more of like a community perception in a way. They're definitely not top tier, but I wouldn't say that if they were given like a few buffs, I wouldn't say like it wouldn't take that long before they become kind of where they were back in season 1 again.
I would say that they would. I would say that they would probably be in line with Prot Warrior and Brewmaster if they didn't fucking kill their armor. If it was just the Bone Storm nerf.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I would sort of agree with you, to be honest with you.
I mean, it feels like all the tanks are like playable. Like even I feel like Guardian Druid.
Yeah, Guardian's not that bad either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
No,
I feel like all the tanks are playable. I feel like just like Vengeance, Guardian, and Blood Death Knight are just underplayed currently. There are prop pallies that are doing like insanely high keys too. So, I mean, obviously prop pally is good in some situations. Like Felinator has been doing some just stupid stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think the tank balance is close enough now that you can succeed with not the best tank, whereas that's not true for that wasn't true in season 2, right?
I mean, it's not even true for healers. So.
Right, it's not been true for healers since the last time when Holy Pallies and Resto Druids were both good.
Yeah, I mean, like, dude, in Legion, like, if you didn't play Holy Pally or Resto Druid, it was just so fucking bad. Like, I remember playing with Hunte on his Disc Priest, like, he would Clarity of Will spam us for, like, trying to immune one-shots, but then beyond that, it was just, like, impossible to do anything else, and, like, God forbid we had, like, Grievous.
Right, so definitely, like, I think all 6 of the tank specs are within that, like, playable range that can do the high keys, but it's a lot easier on the monks and the warriors.
I think it depends on comp though, because I think comp is so important. Like, for example, if you look at, say, Felinator, he has a Shadow Priest in his group that has pretty much no interrupts. But then Felinator kind of like brings that with his Avenger's Shield interrupts. And then at the same time, they kind of like complement each other like really well. And the same thing is for kind of like Brewmaster in a way. Like, I don't think Brewmaster would be this strong if it wasn't for Resto Druid being as strong as it is still.
I agree. That's true.
Just purely because Resto Druid can heal Brewmaster so much more effectively than any other healer in the game can.
Right.
And then in regards to Prot Warrior, I think if you have like a monk in your group, say a Windwalker or something like that, I think the amount of damage that a Prot Warrior can still do now with like the physical debuff is insane. I think honestly, I think comp is such an important thing like right now than it was in season 2, because season 2 was such a kind of linear comp design where, I mean, you said it before, where you just have Resto Druid, Prot Warrior, and then you just find a couple of rogues and you're good to go. You know?
Yeah, you gotta get the LSU rogues, man.
Yeah.
You go on your friends list, find the rogues group, and you just spam invite. You're good to go.
Yeah, there was really an overpowered thing in all like damage dealing, tanking, and healing in season 2, and now it's it really. I think you're right. The comp is super important because like a problem where if you have a Windwalker in the group, you still have the Ring of Peace stuff, and that really helps. But if you lose that Ring of Peace, it really hurts in a lot of these beguiling dungeons now. The Tide stuff. I don't know. We can look at a couple clips actually of what Ring of Peace can do. Here I have some from Trell's stream that we can watch together. Here's an example from Temple this week. So that
Dervishes.
they sneak through this little area.
After the Tides dies.
These 2 dervishes, and normally you just would fight these 2 dervishes or you'd pull in a Nimbus, but Trell's able to ring out a Tides and pull the Tides by itself here because Tides aren't linked. So this one way to do this is just fight a Tides. This is actually really good as well because the dervishes don't auto, right? So you just are only dodging the Tides.
Yeah, that's a pretty efficient one.
It's an amazingly efficient pull for a Brewmaster, yeah. Then here we have a case of the opposite effect, right, where Ring pulls the Tides away from the group and you pull everything else. That is the more common thing where you just don't want to fight a Tide, so you just leave it and you fight all the other mobs. Ring of Peace is a unique way to do this, right? If the other option would be to have somebody chaining CC on the Tides, and instead of costing 1 global before combat starts, that costs 1 global every 5 globals in combat, and you can see why that would be a lot worse. So yeah, I think Ring of Peace is like a huge thing. Just every group I think is way better off with a monk, and putting the monk in the tank slot is I think where you are losing the least like opportunity cost wise, because I think the Windwalkers are in a little bit of a weaker spot this season than they were last season, and Mistweavers also have drawbacks relative to Resto Druid.
I don't even mind Mistweaver that much. I don't know. I think Mistweaver and Holy Pally are actually really good this season. I feel like they're just underplayed too. I legitimately think that they are really good, but
yeah, actually, Way of the Crane.
You have to have the comp for them. You have to have the comp for them. It's just like Andy said. Like for a Mistweaver or a Holy Pally to be good, you have to have somebody that can deal with emissaries. So you have to bring like a fucking Moonkin, a Brewmaster. I know Outlaw Rogue can deal with them like in an okay way too, but you just have to find ways to be able to deal with emissaries whenever you do bring the monk or the Holy Pally, because Resto Druid is just like oppressively good at dealing with emissaries right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a big issue actually. Is the Resto Druid is just too good. I don't understand why you're able to use a spammable CC like root on the Tides, but then something that has a cooldown like Incap is only something like 4 or 5 seconds.
Yeah.
4 seconds.
It's so bullshit. It's so bullshit that I can spam root that mob.
I don't understand that one.
It tilts the shit out of me too, because like sometimes you just like have to spam root it, and you're just like, dude, I wish this wasn't a thing so bad.
Yeah. It's absurd actually, the root against it.
You just wish they were balanced in a way that it would be playable to not play it like that. Like what the
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's take a brief. I think there's a good question here in chat from Obitos. How to make Stupid Bear useful? What comp? So what comp do you think would fill the holes that would make Guardian Druid into a really potent force? Do you guys have any suggestions for classes that you'd want to play with a bear?
I mean, they need to play with a monk.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Definitely a monk in one of the slots.
So maybe
I think you'd actually monk healer with bear.
Yeah, I think so as well, because you need to have someone who really pumps their healing. Because I mean, while Bear Druid does have a lot of healing, I mean, one of the big problems is actually just that their health pool is so massive that they require so much like healing comparatively to say something like Monk, which is like a really small health pool, but then it has like a high effective health, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, I think you definitely need something like Mistweaver that has insane kind of like tank healing, just to heal them properly. But then
have the rogue.
Yeah, you gotta have the rogue.
Then some rogues.
They have Guardian has a little bit of an issue on Snap Threat. They don't get their Thrash stacks up, or
so Tricks
swipes after the Thrash up very quickly. So Tricks.
So do you think like a double rogue comp would be better for them then?
Or like Rogue Hunter with Misdirect, something like that.
I don't know. I think you definitely need the monk, like Andy said.
I don't know. What if you just play
monk something?
Play like Guardian, Resto, 3 rogues, and then you just have a full stealth comp. You know?
Huh.
That sounds pretty interesting.
I mean, I think that at that point, I think once you have like 3 stealthers in your group, the value of going up to 5 is pretty big. You can do a lot of cool stuff with that. You can just like skip all the voids without needing Shadow Meld. Just the rogue gets in combat first and vanishes later, and everybody else can walk by in stealth. I don't know. That's just my suggestion for running that comp. Anyways, let's get back away from Guardian Druid because this is not the Guardian Druid show. This is the Brewmaster show.
Next week.
I have a couple rapid fire. I have a couple rapid fire questions about Brewmaster and like the different aspects of its strengths and weaknesses, and I want to ask Andy how important each of these things are. So first off, Spell Reflect.
Okay.
Brewmaster does not have Spell Reflect. Warrior does. How big is this for Brewmaster tanks?
It's kind of. I think it's kind of big personally. Say for example, it was actually Sinky and I were talking about it. Was Waycrest Mana this week. To push a 23 Waycrest Mana this week, you need to bring so much single target, even as a Brewmaster, just to actually kill the Sisters boss. So like I myself have to play Crucible of Flame, Major, and the Beam Trinket just to kill Sisters boss, and then I'm kind of crippled for the rest of the dungeon. And then at the same time, timing a 24 Waycrest Mana this week on Tyrannical on the Sisters boss is just not going to happen anyway, just purely because Spell Reflect is such a huge thing. So I think for some things, I mean, especially Tyrannical Waycrest, Spell Reflect is absolutely massive. And then say, for example, like Temple, it's really huge on the first boss in terms of like time gain.
Yeah.
Well, that boss is so easy to fucking scuff too that just like I don't know, just the fact that you can like power through that boss as quickly as you can is normally pretty nice. But the Dispel, like coming through in the Marektha room, is also really nice too because it allows you to pull more tender.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, for the sake of time, though, I think
Sure, of course.
for Waycrest, you literally have to have Spell Reflect to kill the boss on a high enough key and the Sisters boss. For those that don't know in chat, you can Spell Reflect 6 times on that boss in a high key, once per each witch phase, and it does something like 12,000 damage per second throughout the fight on like a 23 Tyrannical.
Yeah, I went into a Warcraft logs and just looked at how much Spell Reflect was doing in like a high Waycrest key, and it's actually absurd. Like if that showed up on details meters, your Prot Warrior would be the top damage in the group. Like the only reason that Spell Reflect isn't nerfed is that it doesn't show up on details. If that thing showed up on details, everybody would be complaining about it, but it does not. So
That's true.
So they don't know.
It's also their mitt, so you have to kind of take that into account too. They're so fucking bad against magic damage, and that's all of their magic mitigation.
Yeah, it's true that like they take more magic damage than everybody else, but against those reflectable things, it's totally worth it. It just does so much damage. All right, how about the Mystic Touch, the 5% physical damage debuff? How big is that to Monk being Monk's success this season?
I mean, that obviously helps in terms of what I said earlier with like group comp as well. I think that's kind of like a big thing. Obviously complements something like the Resto Druid quite well as well. So they obviously do physical damage. And I mean, even bringing, I don't know if you've played much with a Fury Warrior this patch, Troll, but like a Fury Warrior with physical damage debuff absolutely pumps dungeons while they bring no utility. They're pretty good.
We don't have very many Fury Warrior Mythic Plus players currently in North America, but I've seen Now play, and he does a shitload of damage these days. Period.
Yeah. So I would say Mystic Touch debuff is kind of, I mean, it's pretty important for why I would say Brewmaster is as good as it is in a way. But I wouldn't say it's like obviously like the biggest reason.
Yeah, it's kind of like Spell Reflect as well, in that it doesn't show up as Brewmaster's damage, so it's kind of hard to see it just from analyzing details or anything at the end of a dungeon, but that's 5% more damage on the rest of your group and on yourself for all your physical stuff, which, you know, most damage in most groups is physical, with all the rogues and Resto Druids out there.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
We also have a Dispel that Monks have. Monks have a Poison Dispel, which Resto Druids already bring if you're playing with one of those. They also have a Poison Dispel, or a Disease Dispel, which most groups don't have other Disease Dispels. Paladins bring it, Priests bring it, but outside of that, it's just the Monks. And that is pretty good on some spots. Underrot is an example of a dungeon that has a lot of diseases that are nice to be able to dispel. But there are some kind of all over the place, randomly thrown throughout dungeons. So how big is that Dispel, Andy?
I mean, it's it's pretty good. I'd say. I'd say it's extremely big. To be honest with you, I think having the utility of detox is, well, it's really insane on a lot of keys. I mean, there's a lot of pulls you can do in Underrot, with kind of like tides or whatever, and like a few lashes, and you just don't have to worry about killing the tides. You can focus on killing, say, something like a blood swarmer instead in the pack.
Yeah,
And
that's
you don't need
exactly
to
what I was
focus
gonna
about the lasher because you're just going to insta dispel it anyway. And I think as a healer, that's kind of like really nice because all you have to do is just focus on like keeping the group alive or whatever. The other thing where it's good on is, I mean, there's second boss of Told Azar.
The
It's pretty
freehold.
nice there.
Yeah, the
Freehold.
bone saws.
Freehold is pretty big.
Mhm.
I mean, you can freehold. It's kind of like because you can actually dodge the auto attack where the bone saw applies it. So there's like a lot of times where you don't get it at all.
Yeah, so
But I mean,
Brewmaster can dispel
Wait,
itself, but also
it?
just never gets it. Yeah.
Yeah, that can happen.
Mhm.
But usually I always when I pull like the first 3 big packs on freehold, I usually just hold it like until I get that debuff. But there have been some times when I've done that pull and I've never got the debuff because I've just dodged it every time.
You just Titanforge your dodge chance a
Yeah.
little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. But
The
yeah,
other thing
it's-
is, I was
it's
going to
very
say,
good.
Dispel, having a Windwalker with the Dispel was good in Season 2 for helping with some of those situations as well, but it's even better on a Brewmaster because it doesn't cost you any DPS hardly, and the Windwalker loses a little bit of energy doing it, a global, and potentially some focus on whatever they're doing. Where Brewmaster, you can instantly do it, you don't really lose much, and you have more control over like seeing it go out and just instantly helping someone. Same thing with Ring of Peace. You can control Ring for yourself instead of having the Windwalker do it for you. So you can make pulls faster, make pulls start a little faster, or keep mobs away from you a little quicker than calling for it over comms and then waiting for it to go down, and so on and so on.
With Dispel, you also proc Conflict Major, right?
Yeah, it's another thing.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually really nice.
Yes. I think,
Yeah, that's actually really big.
I think you're onto something, Trell, with like, there's like this kind of like the ring being in the perfect spot instantly effect that takes like hundreds of games with a good Windwalker if you're a prop warrior to kind of build up that understanding of when you're going to want rings and where you want them. And if you're playing a Brewmaster, you just have that already because you're the same person.
You know where to put it.
Yeah,
you exactly know what you want to do with it.
There's actually, I got to go off on a tangent on this one. I was playing Prop Warrior in MDI, and Edel was playing Mistweaver for Underrot. And she's not like super experienced on Mistweaver, so she knows how to ring a piece, but not like precision ring of pieces like Brewmaster mains know to do in some Windwalker. So I actually had to make a clip for her, me putting a ring in a certain spot on a pole, and I was like, Edel, I need you to do exactly what this is doing here, to knock everything in the same direction, move out of Sanguine at the right time, and also interrupt this cast and just like keep the mobs super clumped. Because you can do a bad ring where you put like the middle of the ring kind of in the center of the mobs and the mobs spray out in an arc, or you can move them in a direct clump together by just using the tip of the ring as an example.
Yeah, ring. There's a lot of pulls where there's a very small place where ring is good and a large area where ring is very bad. To put it right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, there's something going on in chat right now. Dad's popping off on Edel, screaming that she took a phone call mid-cup.
That's true.
No.
And Underrot, she also took a phone call, and I was like, Edel, ring. Edel, ring. Edel, no, please ring. And she's like, I was on the phone.
Oh, no. I think also, okay, the Poison Dispel it's kind of like Spell Reflect in that it comes up in a couple dungeons, but in the dungeons where it does come up, it's really big. And then there are some dungeons where you don't really notice it at all, right? That's kind of like Spell Reflect as well.
Yeah.
Okay, Snap Threat. This is something that, especially this week with Skittish, is something that you would notice. I think Snap Threat would be more of an issue if there weren't so many rogues providing us the beautiful tricks of the trade, and also if Brewmaster hadn't had its damage go up so much this season. What do you guys think? Do you think the Snap Threat is an issue or not so much anymore for those reasons?
I personally don't really think so that much, unless you have someone who's extremely cooldown reliant, like a Frost Decay or a Fire Mage in your group or something like that. I don't think it matters too much, really. At least not for me when I've been playing this week.
Even Fire Mage, if they just tell you what they're going to combust on, you can just taunt that one target and you're good.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's very true.
Large Demon Hunter.
Until the Fire Mage just blinks into melee, gets all the extra melee threat, and just gets hit by every single mob in the pack. Yeah, so you do have to watch out for that.
That's not the play.
Yeah, that is something to be careful of.
Something I did last night, Andy, was I ran a King's Just late last night without Hot Trub, and I did notice my lack of threat. I think Hot Trub has actually helped quite a bit with Snap Threat because you get like a big Purifier.
Oh, it does. Yeah, because the first Purifier in the pool, really big threat, for sure.
I kind of forgot about that until I ran it without it, and I was like, oh shit, I'm actually losing threat on all 5 of these mobs in the gauntlet. That's not good.
I think 65 and like giving bonus threat whenever you hit those essence break points for tanks was also a fairly large.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk a little bit about these essences, because I think they're, like, we talked about running Conflict to do single target in Waycrest. Now you're talking about having Hot Trub, which means having the Conflict Essence. That's the one that you have to do the rated PvP for, right? So it's not like a super long grind, but to get to rank 3, you do have to be like, you have to claim some weekly chests from your PvP box for a couple weeks, depending on how high rated you are. Then there's also Anima of Life and Death. Do either of you guys ever play with Anima of Life and Death? I see that one being popular, especially among the lower ranked Brewmasters, but not so much among the higher ranked ones.
In Shrine, it's pretty good, I would say.
I play Shrine.
Yeah, I find it like, I mean, especially on like attendant pools. Well, I play it in Shrine because it's good on. There's a lot of pools in Shrine which have like low health mobs, but you need to like kill them quickly. Like for example, there's the tentacles later on before third boss. But the biggest thing is in Shrine, I feel like having even just the slightest bit more like effective health is really nice on, because we did the water blast. We did some insane attendant pools on the week, because we almost timed the 24 Shrine, and we had to do some very nutty attendant pools, and I think without Anima, I think I've been very close to dying, to be honest with you. I mean, already it's kind of sketchy because you have to plan your cooldowns so well.
How does Anima, like, how does your effective health with Anima work? Because when you drop below 35%, you lose the bonus. So,
yes, you do. But the minor, I mean, it's just because, I mean, there's like obviously having like more health when you use Fortifying Brew.
Yeah.
It increases your max health, like HP, and obviously if you have Anima, you're gonna have like a bigger health pool anyway. So there's gonna be like a lot of times when a lot of like water blasts, especially if you're doing like a pool where you have like 4 attendants and you're gonna be like nuking one while kicking double spiritualist, and so your kicks are gonna be like very limited on the water blast. So you're probably gonna have on most of these pools having like 3 water blasts go through, and so keeping yourself like above 35%, I feel like it's just, you feel like less kind of spiky because you can die very easily, very quickly.
Yeah, I can see that. I run Anima and Toldagor purely because Hot Trub and Null Barrier pull everything and anything through every wall.
Yeah, I love that one, dude. Fuck yeah, pull me some tides in the Waycrest Manor Courtyard. Fuck yeah, bro.
Yeah, that's really annoying that Null Barrier goes through like doors and stuff.
And Shroud, yeah, you just can't.
Yeah, it explodes in Shroud.
Yeah, and you can't like cancel it at all either. Like you have to legit wait for it as well.
The fact that you can't cancel it is just like, I don't even.
Yeah, you can't even click it off.
Yeah, it's not optimal for sure. But yeah, in Toldagor, yeah, I never have fun in that dungeon because I feel like to really kind of like time it or be competitive on timings, you need to run Hot Trub just purely because it gives you so much damage on like the earlier pools and it helps you out so much, and especially Null Barrier as well. So I don't know, like I never have fun in that dungeon.
Yeah, you just are just always like walking away from the walls, and
yes,
very scared.
Every time, I've
just sworn off my good traits, man.
Scared.
had enough pulling mobs through walls. I saw Rads he was fighting Jess Alice yesterday, and he got meleeed from the Thug and the Croc below him.
I've seen that.
Yes, I'm familiar with that one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I too have a bull rush down the corridor and then pulled mobs a floor below me. They snapped me to them and then instantly killed me. And I'm just like, okay, I guess I'm coming back.
You do deserve that for being a high mountain Tauren. I stand by that.
Toldagor should be deleted.
To be fair, this is a Toldagor problem, not a Brewmaster problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's true. So, I mean, it's also in Waycrest as well. Like, there's that void. I mean, this week below floor, like near where Raoul is, where you go towards Raoul if you're in the courtyard. And then it's also like a tides there on some weeks as well. And that one pulls often with, I think it's either Null Barrier or Hot Chug, something like that pulls it.
Both of them, yeah.
Yeah, both of them, I think.
Together
at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I think probably flat out remove any emissaries from below there to fix it.
They just need to stop making dungeons that have multiple levels, like vertically. Like, it's not worth it.
I mean,
dude,
maybe.
The courtyard in Waycrest is literally like you pull fucking tides through the floor, and then you're just like stuck perma in combat. Occasionally the tides will run up the stairs and just like fucking insta kill your healer, and you're just like, all right, I guess that was a thing. That's cool.
Yeah, Matron Alma used to pull from below the floor as well. Like, stuff would pull above you sometimes if you skipped the stuff above you and then you were down there. It's just a mess. I think that if you're gonna have vertical dungeons, you need to do the cathedral thing where there's just like a huge big staircase so that nothing is close to below you. Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. Just make the levels more spread out and like more open.
That helps with the nameplates too.
A really good example.
Yeah,
I think they don't make the floors like they have like Z-axis issues just in the fucking game in general. Like, think Blackwater Behemoth. Like, if somebody's like not on the ground with the shot on Blackwater, they'll just like straight up die. Like, nobody else will soak the shot, and they will literally just die by themselves. And you're just like, what the hell is happening? Like, the Z-axis in this game is just so bad. Like, the tides was protecting mobs through the floor in Waycrest, and then they fixed it to where now you can just like pull the tides up on an elevated surface, and now nothing else is protected. And you're just like, what the fuck?
I might have abused that a few times.
Just a couple of times.
Yeah, maybe me too.
Yeah, the Z-axis bug.
Mm-hmm. Oops, I accidentally put that mob there. Oops.
Whoops, yeah. Brewmaster, by the way, the best tank at being able to set that up as well by like being able to sweep the tides on demand and move mobs without it. Like, it's really nice.
I think it's strange that they made the tides like a PvP mob. So like sweep is 5 seconds on the tides. I think that's kind of a bit broken, I think.
This was all just like they did this whole set of CC changes to it at the last minute in PTR. And kind of just slapped on this PvP duration without diminishing returns thing. Yeah. That's why paralysis is so bad, right? Because paralysis normally is longer than an 8-second debuff, but it lasts less than 8 seconds on a tides because it lasts less than 8 seconds in PvP.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly why.
I think that affects like Earth Grab Totem as well. You get like a 2-second duration on that instead of 8, which is
That's so bad.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's talk about some of the specific things also that have been new for Brewmaster that are really overpowered this patch. Gift of the Ox, I think, is we're going to shed some light now on something that may cause Gift of the Ox to get changed, because Gift of the Ox is behaving in a way that is not how it says on the tooltip in the current patch. So for anybody who doesn't know how Brewmaster works, Gift of the Ox is an ability where when you take damage, you're supposed to spawn these healing spheres, and you're supposed to spawn them, you're not supposed to be able to like full heal yourself, but the calculation is based off of your max health. And right now, your max health has been increased by all these effects, like Perseverance on your necklace, and all this extra stamina from random places. And that has not been factored into the calculation for how often you're spawning Gift of the Ox orbs. So Gift of the Ox orbs are healing you for a percentage of your health, but are spawning now for a percentage of your health that's actually fairly close to that, which means that you're able to pretty much heal yourself for most of the damage that's coming at you. Like, your Gift of the Ox isn't just something that you get once every minute to heal yourself on demand. Now it's like once every 15 seconds you can do a big Gift of the Ox heal on yourself. And that has caused Brewmaster to just be extremely, extremely self-healy and always have Gift of the Ox spheres near it to heal itself.
Well, it's definitely not like a stagnant 15-second. You get 5 orbs. It definitely depends on the level of content you're doing, and the harder dungeons you do, the more orbs you're going to spawn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do kind of disagree with you, Janos, though, because it's not like a problem directly from season 3. It's been the way it is now since the beginning of BFA, since season 1.
Okay, so it hasn't gotten worse. Like, it hasn't gotten more powerful recently. Like, you're not spawning more orbs per damage taken.
It's the same as it has been in season 1.
Okay.
It's when they did a change to Brewmaster's health pool, where they wanted to nerf Brewmaster. So they said, okay, we're going to give them 10% less health, max health, than all the other tanks, which is what they did, and that's why Brewmaster has lower health pool than all the other tanks. But then what happened was that there was some kind of scaling issue where, because it had less health than what it did before, the game kind of thought that it was kind of near proccing where it should spawn a healing orb or something like that. There's some sort of like, it's just kind of like a coding error, but it's been there since season 1.
It's just scaled really well, and now we're really seeing it shine in season 3 with how much damage is incoming on tanks and how much healing is available to back that up. And so you have so many orbs to essentially top yourself on top of the other healing you have baseline. And so it does show up as quite a lot of healing in the end, but I mean, it's nice. I don't know if we should talk about this too much. I don't want to get nerfed.
Yeah, so you have that, then you have Celestial Fortune, which is a bonus on incoming healing that scales with your crit as a Brewmaster.
Yeah.
That's something that's kind of gotten that's just, it's nice for Brewmasters that crit scales so well for you, and actually all of your stats scale so well for you, both defensively and offensively, and that kind of means that as you get to these later patches where everybody has more stats, Brewmaster's just happy to have all those stats. So that's a nice thing too. Celestial Fortune also double dips with things like Gift of the Ox and the trinkets that we're about to talk about. Those are just more effective on Brewmaster because their self-heals and stuff are more effective, and the trinkets that do that multiply with that. And those trinkets are Bloodthirsty Urchin and Edicts of the Faithless. Those 2 defensive trinkets are massive, massive amounts of self-healing, and they really provide for Brewmaster this ability to not require external healing in the way that it used to. Brewmaster used to be the spec that wouldn't die all of a sudden, but required a lot of external healing to be kept up. And now it's just a spec that doesn't die all of a sudden and also doesn't require a lot of external healing, which is a really, really overpowered place to be for a tank in Mythic Plus. So that's it. That's my diagnosis for the problem there.
Yeah, those 2 trinkets are insanely powerful. I know Andy got both trinkets week 1 of the new.
Yeah, I did.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, actually, my monk. I was gonna complain, but I also got it on my first kill on my monk on both those bosses, so I cannot complain.
I don't even have an edict still. I get asked if diamond is better than edict because that's what I run, and the answer is no. Edict is definitely really.
Do you think that Celestial Fortunes should apply to trinket absorbs? Because that doesn't seem like that makes a lot of sense. It doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense from.
It also applies to all healing absorbs included. So it also applies to, say, something like Atonement from Disc Priests or whatever.
Yeah, and Void Stone. And does it also apply to Artifice of Time Shield too?
It's the same concept as Guardian, where they just have a flat increase from healing across the board.
Was it
Mastery, I believe.
That Mastery, Nature's Guardian.
I think it's not broken. It's not broken inherently, but it is really nice for these tanks that have multiple things that scale their healing. Most tanks just have Verse that will scale their incoming healing and stuff, and they absorb size on their trinkets, but Brewmaster has crit and Verse that do that sort of stuff. So yeah, there you have it. That's why, for anybody who's ever wondered why Brewmaster is really good this season, the last 30 minutes are your answer. That's those things we've been talking about. I do want to quickly talk about Brewmaster and Raid, because we kind of glossed over this, but Brewmaster is an extremely it's kind of undeniably broken in Raid. I don't think there are really any brewmasters that would disagree with you that it's just super duper ridiculous in Raid. In Raid, Brewmaster's just this tank that with 0 gear will also still take 0 damage. And we were talking about how you require a lot of external healing, but the fact that you just don't fall over and die is so valuable on Brewmaster compared to the other tank specs, right? So it's this spec where just your healers can just watch you, and the fact that you're going to die over 10 seconds instead of 2 is unquantifiably valuable in Raid. All right. Also, there are a bunch of just random stuff that you can dodge in Raid too, which does help. Trell, would you like to disagree with me, or do you agree that Brewmaster is just overpowered as heck in Raid?
Brewmaster's super good in Raid, and they always have been. I swear they're always going to be like the best baseline tank as long as the stagger remains the same as it is now. Like, if you're going to prepare for next year as a tank, you probably want to have a Brewmaster for sure, and then have some other tanks for certain aspects of fights. Like Guardian Druid was big in Legion for Stampeding Roar, and that was a good ult. Blood Decay for Mass Grip on certain raid fights is always really good.
Paladin for spell warding. Do I hear?
Yeah, Pally too. Brewmaster is always consistently good, and until they change stagger in some way for raid, it's going to stay that way.
Mm-hmm. Andy, agree or disagree?
Yeah, I think Brewmaster's strong in raids, but I don't think he is like an easy fix to it though.
Yeah, I like your idea of like nerfing stagger in raid, but not Mythic Plus through some Mythic Plus talent that just makes stagger 100% more effective, and then nerf stagger in half for everything else.
I think that's probably a good way to do it, to be honest with you. Because I'd hate to see the blood decay and nuclear missile,
Yeah.
They're always looming, man.
That's the rough part about this game, because sometimes you can just pick an overpowered spec to play and it will stay good, and sometimes you can pick one and it just gets nerfed instantly, and there's just no way to know. If 3 years ago you were a new healer and you're just like, I'm just gonna wait this Resto Druid thing out, they're gonna nerf it soon, you're the egg on your face, right?
What about Rogue? I mean, if you were sitting here, yeah, man, maybe they'll learn up Rogue eventually, but I probably should just play sub for now. Where would you be at this point if you were playing that in League?
Right, yeah. Whereas if you played Warrior last season and you were like, yeah, Warrior's going to be the new hotness, it still is good, but it did get nerfed. And if you played Blood Death Knight did get hit. So there's just no way to know whether your spec is safe or not. My perspective is, yeah.
There are other ways to fix it though, in my opinion. I think the current kind of build with high tolerance is just too simple to play, and it's too non-complex at all. And I think they need to completely rework Brewmaster's current kind of talent system, to be honest with you. For example,
definitely.
For example, on the brew generation talent, you have what's it called? I can't remember what it's called, but you have a Spitfire. That's it. Where your Tiger Palm has a 25% chance of resetting Breath of Fire, but for some reason that talent is on a row with other talents that are designed just for brew generation. So I don't know. It feels like an odd place to kind of put it. And then at the same time, you have the whole problem with with rushing Jadewind and then not playing without it feels kind of super bad. For freeholds, I made a kind of special delivery build, but while it is kind of good, it still kind of feels bad to play because I'm not having that extra button of using rushing Jadewind. So I think they should honestly look at kind of the last talent row as well, a Brewmaster. I think high tolerance is just too. It's a huge passive talent that gives you so much raw survivability, but then the other talents in the row, while they require more thinking to use, they're just worse in every single way, for every single situation.
I agree.
And the most kind of interesting talent on that row is Blackout Combo, where essentially after every Blackout strike, your other abilities in your kind of basic kind of spec can do all sorts of different things. For example, Tiger Palm will give you double Tiger Palm damage. Iron Skin Brew will give you pausing stagger for 3 seconds. All of these different things really interesting. and you can kind of like min-max kind of really heavily based on what a counter you're doing. But currently, like Blackout Combo feels really awful to use, and it's worse than High Tolerance in terms of dealing damage and in terms of like raw survivability.
Yeah,
And it just feels like awful.
Yeah. Do you think Blackout Combo should be the best on that row? Just because like it requires actual thought to play, whereas High Tolerance is like passive based. And
I think so, but the only way to fix it is to revert a change they did in League, where they decided to make Blackout Strike not affected by haste. And I think the only way to fix that is to make it affected by haste. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's like the only like thing, only way of like fixing it, to be honest.
Yeah.
For me, I know in Legion, Blackout Combo was a go-to in keys for Brewmaster play at high key level. And it was actually a significant DPS increase for single target because Tiger Palm actually did some damage with the face palm relics, I think it was. So Blackout Combo was like a really good single target gain, and you could also use it defensively for the stagger pausing on certain big pulls, and you could like make an insane stagger pull and then kite and drop it. But now if you take Blackout Combo, you gain like the smallest amount of single target DPS for a humongous defensive loss. And so I think if they just made the bonus bigger for either of those things with Blackout Combo or made Tiger Palm damage bigger across the board instead of having all of our damage in Keg Smash and Blackout Strike, maybe that would help. I'm not sure though.
Yeah, I think talents like Blackout Combo should be like they should at least be good if you're using them well. The problem right now is that like you play Blackout Combo perfectly and it's not a gain over playing High Tolerance, which doesn't require any thought.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's kind of like class design is something like Disc Priest, where you basically get rewarded for thinking, and I think Blackout Combo is a lot like that in terms of, but like the reward isn't high enough like with it. If that makes sense. So I think they should for sure like buff it, and I think that's like a really good route of like separating kind of like really high skilled brewmasters and like less so, instead of having like this kind of like median kind of like play style that it is currently, I think.
Raising the skill ceiling is always a nice thing to do for specs whenever they can, and part of the way you do that is by making the high skill talents viable if you're high skill.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
All right, let's move on to questions and answers. We have one here from @Darth_RO. Maybe a little late in the day, but I wonder if you could give your thoughts on the key pushing mindset or barriers to entry in Mythic Plus. Tettles, what do you think of this one?
Okay, so for key pushing mindset, I think one of the biggest things, and we kind of hit on this earlier, is that you should probably be looking to do keys every single week, just to try to like familiarize yourself with like all the situations, try to get yourself a little bit more coordinated with your group. Running with the same 4 to 5 people for most of your runs also helps a lot too, but also jumping into other groups occasionally to learn new strategies is also pretty good. And then as it comes to like barriers or entry in Mythic Plus, it's really rough because if you want to jump into high key specifically, you basically have to know somebody who's already going to invite you, whether that's going to be through Raid or through high keys already. Very few people list their key in LFG, so it's going to be hard to jump like into a high key without knowing somebody. So just getting a nice collective of people that you know, having good friends that also push up pretty high keys, I would say that's the biggest mindset and barrier to entry that you probably have to overcome.
Yeah, you need to like you're gonna get a small, rare amount of opportunities to like play with really good people when you're first starting out, and you really need to like do your best and learn as much as you can, because if you can impress people when you play with them, they're gonna play with you more. So just the better you play, the easier it is to kind of keep getting invited back to groups. But yeah, I don't know. I think the best mindset is just to always be focused on your own improvement, and as long as you do that, you're not going to be so tilted whenever you mess up a key, and you're going to always be looking for things you can learn and take into your next key and do better next time.
As this is the Brewmaster show, what do you guys actually think about tanks normally forming the group for keys, and tanks having most of the responsibility inside of keys? There's obviously some exceptions, like an example, Dr. J pretty much takes full control of his group, but by and large, it's mostly on the tank to have full control. Like, do you think that like if people wanted to get into keep pushing, maybe rerolling to tank would be a good solution, and just like taking control of their own group, and just kind of paving their own way?
It's hard from both sides. I pushed my way up in Legion to figure out how to play and learn Mythic Plus. And it took me a long time to really network because I was a tank and you have to make your own group. As a DPS, I think you can actually like rocket yourself upward instantly if you know the right people. Like if you just meet a tank you like and they're good, you can instantly start doing 22s right now. But as a tank, you really got to like learn every aspect and work your way up slowly. And if you get invited to a high key with a full group that's done that for a while and you're new at it, you're probably going to fail the first few times. Whereas DPS can kick when they're told and figure it out on the fly a lot of the times. You're probably going to die too, but you're still going to complete the key. But if a tank dies, you're probably not going to complete the key. So it goes both ways. I think tanks organizing it is good because they know what's going to happen and they know what to expect generally, and they can kind of guide the others through it if they're newer. But there's a lot to talk about on that one.
All right. Let's move on to our next question, though, which comes from @SaneTweet. Any advice on how to handle Purify usage in high keys? Seems like I'm constantly at red stagger without stacks for further purifying. What happens when you deep red and taking further damage? How do you cope with that situation, or are there ways to prevent this? Andy, what do you think of how to purify here? They tagged Trell in this tweet, but I figured they just didn't know we would have a better Brewmaster on the show. So I wanted to send the question over to you.
Damn, Trell's dead.
Hey, look, I asked Andy to be on the show, okay? This is Andy's question.
I mean, that's kind of like what a lot of people ask me actually on my stream, is that they feel like red stagger is like somehow the limit or whatever. But I mean, most of the time when you're at red stagger, you're actually kind of fine in most situations. Like it just depends on how much red stagger you have, and it depends on your percentages. So I mean, in terms of like when you purify, always kind of like depends on the situation. But I mean, it's always usually you want to purify like your peak of damage intake, and you want to purify kind of like when you need it, as opposed to like, I mean, a lot of people that I see is that they kind of get scared and they purify too early, and then they run out of brews, and then they're like, oh shit, what do I do now?
So I actually have such a bad habit of doing that from MDI from 18 keys, because I'm like, okay, I normally purify right here, and then I'm like, oh wait, no, I'm about to get double that stagger in the next second, and I just waste the whole brews.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the brews system is the thing that I actually really like the most about Brewmaster, because in like really really high key situations, you can essentially kind of like plan ahead in terms of when to purify, and you get essentially rewarded for it in terms of you're going to take a lot less damage, like throughout overall in a fight or whatever. But I mean, it's just kind of like, I mean, a lot of people just like kind of panic really quickly, I think, when they don't need to panic, and so usually they just purify too quickly, and then you can fall behind on brews, especially on, say, something like I'd say last boss of King's Rest. You can fall behind very quickly if you don't like plan ahead, and that boss can basically destroy you if you're not kind of like prepared for it.
What's your strategy on that? I normally purify after each blade combo, and then if I have an extra now and then I'll pop it, but I always save one for that. What do you do?
Yeah, that's basically the best tactic. I mean, the only other time you can, I mean, in Lust, usually you Lust the Tazala, which is like the big raptor spawns, the one that fears. Like during Lust, you can usually like purify twice on each blade combo. But yeah, for the most time, you should just purify like after every blade combo. But I mean, a lot of times you can kind of like lose. Like a lot of people that I've seen, they lose brews too early, and then they get to a point where they can't purify after blade combo, and then they fall behind very quickly. Like, that's the thing that happens a lot with Brewmaster, is that you can fall behind very fast. If your brew usage is bad,
you kind of like panic and purify twice on the first blade combo, right? You purify when you've been hit twice in it, and you see your stagger go up to 80%, and like you would have actually been fine. You could have just gone up to 160 and then purified.
Yeah, exactly. Like you always want to purify on the biggest peak of your like damage takes,
mhm.
and like a lot of times, it's kind of like knowing the fight, and like that's why experience is so kind of important.
Mhm. All right, more questions here. We have one from Sistara in chat. Do you think certain tanks requiring classes to be optimal means all the tanks are balanced? So if a Blood Death Knight needs a Boomkin to do well, or a Shadow Priest needs a Prop Paladin to do well, like if all these synergies are required, is that good for balance, or is that a bad thing? Tettles, what do you think about this kind of question of what's a balanced game?
I find it interesting. I mean, there's always going to be some comps that just like synergize very well together. Obviously, Blood Death Knight mass gripping into like an AoE stun into like a solar beam plus trees is always going to be very strong. Obviously, stuff like the Shadow Priest with the Protection Paladin, I'm not entirely sure if that's like the most optimal thing.
It's more that like it's less that like a Prop Paladin needs a Shadow Priest and more that a Shadow Priest needs a Prop Paladin, I'd say.
I would agree with that. I mean, I think Moonkin also fills the same niche with the Prop Paladin, where Solar Beam is either OP or terrible. There's no in between.
Or you could bring a Restless Shaman.
True. Yeah, that covers the Shadow Priest or Boomkin hole as well.
Having solidly played Protection Paladin and Restoration Shaman a couple times this season, I'm gonna go with no. I'm gonna go with not the synergy you're looking for. However, Restoration Druid plus Brewmaster Monk is probably one that you should. I don't know. I don't feel like it's bad for the game. I think there's always inherently going to be some synergies between classes, and it's something that you should be looking to embrace whenever you're crafting a comp.
Yeah, I think that when there are some comps that are like some specs that work with everything, and then some specs that require other specs to be good, that's a problem. I think that's how you can tell something is overpowered, right? Like Prot Warrior being the best combo with anything, Outlaw Rogue being the best combo, being the best DPS in any comp, right? Those I think are problems. But when it's more like, okay, you know, we have this tank, so maybe we want this healer, or we have this DPS, so maybe we want this tank. I think those are cool things, and I like that. I like designing comps that way. I just don't like when the answer is always, what DPS should we bring? Outlaw Rogue. All right, another question here from Michael Bluth. Why is Healing Elixir bad? Is it because you guys have more reliable healers? Sometimes I feel like I need the extra healing. Andybrew, you were a Healing Elixir, a huge fan of this talent actually in Season 1, right? What's your take on it now?
It's all right. It's not as good as it used to be, because essentially the way we've kind of like scaled as Brewmaster is like much better than it was in Season 1. So it's not like Healing Elixir is like a talent that is usually kind of like good when you have kind of like low stats and low kind of like scaling. So like in Season 1, I thought for a lot of keys it was pretty good over having the
especially for Grievous.
Yeah, Grievous was really nice actually. I remember that.
I mean, currently it's just not as good as having an extra cooldown like Dampen Harm or having Bob and Weave. It's just not really as good. I don't think. But yeah,
I personally prefer Dampen in every dungeon except for Freehold, where I run Bob and Weave. Is that true for you too, Andy?
For the most part, yeah. It depends on like the week, like tyrannical or what the affixes are. But I mean, usually, yeah, Freehold. I almost never play Dampen Harm. Almost always play Bob and Weave. But yeah, for the majority of dungeons, I'll play Dampen, just because having the cooldown is a lot better.
Brewmaster is very low. Good.
I really make sure that I use trees over their Dampen Harm too, just to mess with them.
Yeah, that sounds
very. Most of the time, I'm pretty good about not treesing your cooldowns. Sometimes you gotta.
Brewmaster they're in cooldowns for such a small percentage of the time as well. It's not like Prot Warrior where they have just like 4 cooldowns. Like Brewmaster just have Fort Brew and Dampen Harm, and that's it, right?
You can use Zen Med on quite a few things. Like especially Motherload, like third boss and the last boss. Their auto attacks, like they're kind of like ranged auto attacks, so they won't actually break Zen Med. And there's like a lot of things you can do with Zen Med, like with Ring, to stop mobs from hitting you. So yeah, I'd say like Zen Med is like probably a really good call.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, my roommate made a cameo appearance here.
I hate Dad so much, man. Okay, so Trell's roommate Grizz walks by with a floral shirt. Shift types in chat earlier, can we get Grizz on the show to show off that pattern shirt? Quote, what the hell is that? And then Dad goes in the chat like just a second ago, back from his poop, still fresh. How does he do it? So now Matt knows Trell and I are literally sitting here just like trying to not like laugh our head off.
He's laughing too. He can hear it.
Oh no.
We appreciate Grizz.
Oh, okay.
But like in terms of cooldowns, that was for sure a big problem. I'd say like in Legion, was the fact that like a lot of times having cooldown tanks were just much better, purely because the pools were insanely huge in M+.
Yeah, it was like a mass grip into stun into dancing rune weapon, and into Vamp Blood and to get out, and like you just needed to have something to live for 30 seconds, not for 3 minutes, which is what you need now.
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree.
All right. I think that'll about do it for us this week. Hope you guys have enjoyed this show on Brewmaster. We'll be back again next week to talk about something else, probably. We have to figure that out, but you can follow us on Twitter and we'll let you know what the topic is in advance, and you can send us some tweets. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching, and goodbye.